Coming up on Valley View News, demonstrators protest the increase in anti-Asian hate crimes. Plus, authorities plan to remove the homeless encampment in Echo Park. And amusement parks are reopening in spring, but there's a catch.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Lisette Ceja.
And I'm Casey Contreras in the Digital Media Center.
Members of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus went to Atlanta Sunday. They saw the somber sights of this month's deadly spa shootings. Their goal is to bring attention to the growing number of anti-Asian hate crimes in the U.S. California Congressman Mark Takano was among the group.
They see with their own eyes, and they feel what they feel, and they have been gritting their teeth for an entire year, shaped by the words of a former president.
The representatives paid respect to the 8 shooting victims who died. Several lawmakers said the shootings were motivated by racism and misogyny. California Democrat Judy Chu wants the Department of Justice to prosecute the killings as a hate crime.
Everything that we saw today gave me even more determination to go back to Washington, D.C., to ensure that we have our Department of Justice use its resources to call these murders a hate crime.
Here in Los Angeles, some in the Asian American community protested against the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes. Our reporter Andrea Esparza was there.
Asian community is under attack. What do we do?
Hundreds of demonstrators gathered in front of City Hall protesting the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes. Many blame political rhetoric for the increase.
I think what the president says and what politicians that we nominate says on TV has a huge weight, and it carries to a lot of people because what they see on the TV is what they believe.
Demonstrators are outraged at Atlanta's law enforcement. Officials refuse to label the recent mass shooting as a hate crime, even though to some it seemed obvious.
Oh, we're under attack. What do we do?
Well, it's obvious that person killed 6 Asian women. He cannot change the fact that he attracted to these Asian business places and killed a bunch of Asians.
Protesters used this march not only to protest Asian hate crimes, they also showed solidarity with other minorities impacted by racial violence.
We need to stand together, and we need to stand united. We can't be divided. We should not fight against each other. That's what they want. They want us to fight amongst each other.
Protesters want media and law enforcement to view the Atlanta shooting as a hate crime, as failure to do so demonstrates the blatant disregard for Asian American lives. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Andrea Esparza.
The murder trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Shovin started this week. He's charged in the death of George Floyd after kneeling on Floyd's neck for more than 8 minutes. Floyd's brother Terrence Floyd says the trial is a chance for the justice system to prove it can be trusted.
They want us to trust the system. Well, this is your chance to show us that we can trust you.
In his opening statement, prosecutor Jerry Blackwell said it's clear Floyd's death was a homicide and the use of excessive force wasn't needed. While if defense attorney Eric Nelson's opening claim the use of force isn't attractive, he said it's necessary for policing. The Floyd family attorney Ben Crump said race plays a part in the case.
If George Floyd was a white American citizen and he suffered this painful, torturous death with a police officer knee on his neck, nobody will be saying this is a hard case.
The first witness to testify was 911 dispatcher Jenna Scurry. She watched the incident on her TV monitor. She said she knew something was wrong when the image of the police holding Floyd on the ground wasn't changing. Then she said she did something she's never done before in her 7-year career. She called a police sergeant to intervene.
In the wake of 2 mass shootings that left 18 people dead, President Biden says he's confident that a rational gun control bill can pass the Senate. If not, then Biden still may use an executive order to bypass the Senate.
Of course I am. I'm the only one that's ever got it passed, man. Everybody keeps wondering whether I'm cared about dealing with rational gun control. The only gun control legislation ever passed is mine. It's going to happen again.
Congress narrowly passed an assault weapons ban in 1994 when President Biden was a senator, but it expired in 2005. House Democrats earlier this month passed bills expanding background checks.
Record rains caused flash floods in Tennessee. 4 people died and dozens needed rescuing. Nashville got more than 7 inches of rain during the weekend. It was the second highest 2-day rainfall ever in the area. Mayor John Cooper said first responders joined the Red Cross on Sunday trying to help victims. Resident Chris Butterick was keeping a close eye on the flooding.
It's incredible how quickly the water has come up since, like I said, 5:30 this morning, 6 o'clock this morning. It's coming up now, and just in the last hour, it's come up another couple of feet. So it's still rising as we're sitting here talking.
At least 130 people were rescued from cars, apartments, and homes. March has historically been a turbulent weather month for Tennessee. Last March, tornadoes killed 20 people and destroyed more than 140 buildings.
For the past year, Echo Park Lake has been home for several people without housing. The city is now trying to shut down the small community of displaced people. Reporter Kimberly Linares explains how the city's plan pushed many to protest.
We'll start making announcements. We'll see captains. We might break up into teams.
Hundreds of advocates for the homeless protested at Echo Park. They opposed city plans to close down and evict the unhoused community living there.
For some reason, they think if we clear the park out, if we get everybody into some hotel, no more homelessness. Wrong. For every person you take, there's 2 more that come with nothing.
The peaceful protesters marched to the office of council member Mitch O'Farrell, where they sought answers.
Rent prices. When are we going to get some relief from that?
People are more aware of this stuff that's happening than ever before because of things like social media.
George Floyd's death by police and Black Lives Matter protests taught the younger generation about the power of their voices through hashtags and other social media techniques.
We as a society should support one another rather than treating people such as our unhoused friends as second-class citizens.
Protest organizers encourage the community to stay overnight, serving as a protection so that possible evictions don't occur. Reporting from Echo Park, for Valley View News, I'm Kimberly Linares.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says the recent COVID surge can't be blamed on the new COVID variants alone. More people have been traveling for spring break and states are now lifting restrictions. The country is seeing a spike in cases, reporting an average of 61,000 new COVID-19 cases a day.
I've said many times to you that when you're coming down from a big peak and you reach a point and start to plateau, once you stay at that plateau, you're really in danger of a surge coming up. And unfortunately, that's what we're starting to see.
Some state officials lifted restrictions on gyms and restaurants, and other officials plan to eliminate statewide mask requirements.
The Biden administration and some private companies are working on a way to keep track of who got vaccinated against COVID-19. Vaccine passports are one way people can prove they've received their shots. This would be helpful as businesses start to reopen. The Biden plan is driven largely by the Department of Health and Human Services. The passports would be free as an app on smartphones.
4 Southern California school districts returned to in-person teaching after a year of online learning. Long Beach Unified, Glendale Unified, Downey Unified, and Manhattan Beach Unified school districts welcomed their students back. They all had a list of COVID-19 protocols to follow. The guidelines are based on public health officials' recommendations. Most schools that are reopening will be operating on a limited schedule.
The San Diego Convention Center was repurposed to a temporary overflow facility for unaccompanied migrant children. This week, about 500 girls between the ages of 13 and 17 arrived there. California Representative Barbara Lee says they still have a long way to go.
The Customs and Border Patrol facilities are to hold people, hold adults. They're not prepared to take care of children, so we've got to reprioritize our resources.
Last month, Border Patrol agents picked up more than 9,000 children crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. The number of children crossing has steadily increased since dipping in April 2020. The Biden administration said it has a plan to create more long-term licensed facilities to hold children.
Comic-Con received criticism after it was announced that Comic-Con Special Edition will be held at the San Diego Convention Center on November 26th through the 28th, Thanksgiving weekend. The pandemic stopped a lot of family gatherings last year, and most fans said they would prioritize spending time with family instead of going to the event. Organizers explained the chosen date was the best balance of available space and their vision.
Theme parks around Southern California can reopen with rides and attractions starting April 1st. Our reporter Stephanie Garcia takes a look at the pandemic's impact on the amusement park industry.
Amusement parks in California have been closed since March of last year because of COVID-19. The closures have had a significant impact on park employees. In the past year, more than 40,000 theme park workers were laid off. Some are now hoping to get a call to come back to work.
I don't know necessarily what's going to happen to my job there. I don't know if they're going to call us back or not, but I'm really hopeful that they do.
Under Governor Gavin Newsom's updated fourth-tier business reopening blueprint, amusement parks got the okay to open gates as soon as April 1st.
Everyone is required to wear a face covering during their visit.
According to the state officials, amusement park attendants will be subject to various coronavirus mitigation measures, like mask wearing and physical distancing.
Temperature checks are required upon arrival.
The guests look forward to heading back to theme parks. Some visitors, like Charlie Franco, are positive the parks will follow COVID-19 safety protocols.
I'm kind of excited, especially because I know that Disney will take protocols onto safety, especially. That's very important.
So far, only Disneyland Resort and Six Flags have announced their reopening dates. Six Flags will be open on April 1st and Disneyland on April 30th.
Due to capacity limitations, only California residents will be allowed to visit the parks at the moment. Reporting for Valley View News from Anaheim, I'm Stephanie Garcia.
Coming up on Valley View News, reporter Leslie Gama covers a march supporting International Women's Day. Plus, there's more international news.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
When you're running your own business and taking care of your disabled brother, you tend to learn about responsibility pretty quickly.
Welcome back. Let's go to Studio B, where Sofia Lesios has updates on the Suez Canal situation and other events happening around the world.
The container ship Ever Given that was blocking the Suez Canal for more than a week is now up and running again. The cargo ships are now resuming their travel through the canal. Authorities said the breakthrough came after a lot of pushing, pulling, and dredging. 10 tugboats were involved. Now hundreds of ships are still waiting to make their way through the canal. Many ships chose other routes between Asia and Europe. Now the blockage was costing $9 billion a day in global trade. England is lifting stay-at-home orders after a decrease in COVID-19 cases. Groups of up to 6 people can now meet outside. Sports facilities are also open. More than 3.5 million people have had the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Just 4,600 COVID cases were reported in the UK Monday. That's 1,000 fewer cases than last week. England's Culture Secretary said they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Mexico's government announced the country's true COVID-19 death toll. Officials say more than 321,000 people have died from COVID-19. This is almost 60% more than its original report. The new numbers came from a review of excess deaths and a review of death certificates. Experts said the inaccurate numbers are due to lack of testing. They also believe that the overwhelmed hospitals meant many Mexicans had to die at home without taking a test. The revised toll places Mexico with the second highest number of COVID-19 deaths in the world. Myanmar suffered its deadliest day of protest. Security forces were caught on camera gunning down unarmed civilians, killing more than 100 people in one day, including children.
Demonstrators are protesting the country's military coup. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says the U.S. is horrified by the bloodshed. Meanwhile, the Biden administration suspended all diplomatic trade with Myanmar. It'll remain in effect until the country returns to its democratically elected government. 2 suicide bombers attacked a church in Makassar, Indonesia, injuring at least 20 people. The attack began during Palm Sunday services at Sacred Heart of Jesus Cathedral. It's the beginning of Holy Week leading up to Easter. The bombers tried to enter the church on a motorbike and detonate a bomb by the entrance. Both bombers died in the blast. No deaths were reported among the churchgoers. Indonesia President Joko Widodo said the attack is an act of terrorism. He said the police are investigating and they're trying to break up terrorism networks. Chilean President Sebastián Pinera is postponing elections due to an increase in COVID-19 cases. Chile has had a record number of coronavirus infections. They're dealing with a new virus variant that's more contagious and spreading across Latin America. Chile now has 80% of its population under strict lockdown. The election was supposed to select a commission to rewrite the country's dictatorship-era constitution. The election will now be on May 15th and 16th. I'm Sophia Lasiez reporting from Studio B. Back to you, Lizeth.
Some Ventura County residents marched in solidarity with working women around the world for International Women's Day. Valley View's Leslie Gama reports from Port Hueneme.
Men and women from all over Ventura County marched to Port Hueneme Naval Base for International Working Women's Day. They shared their own stories as they walked. Laura Guzman organized the event to increase awareness of gender inequity in the community.
And it has its roots in the communist movement of the 1900s. It's all about working women standing up against the poor conditions of their factories.
Before the march, women shared testimonies about the challenges they faced in the workplace. They also gave possible solutions to the issues. Leo Hare from Serve the People LA traveled from Los Angeles to support the community.
Women's Day is about celebrating the struggles of working women, and we know that it's very important to take those struggles and connect them to the larger struggle that the people are facing.
4 revolutionary women were held up to signify strength, disparities in pay, and other issues.
We're not going to tolerate this.
Laura Guzman says International Working Women's Day is a holiday she holds close to her heart. She sees these women as her family and community.
We should unite with people from all countries to celebrate the working women in our lives.
Many women share their stories of inequity with crowd support at Bubbling Springs Park in Port Hueneme. Over 50 people are attending from all over Ventura County. Reporting in Port Hueneme for Valley View News, I'm Leslie Gama.
Nike says they're not in collaboration with Lil Nas X's new Satan shoes. The rapper who sings Old Town Road said he modified the Air Max 97s to fit his aesthetics. He said each shoe will have a drop of human blood on the soles. The shoes were released during the Palm Sunday weekend, and there was a lot of outrage about it. Nike quickly released a statement saying, "Nike did not design or release these shoes, and we do not endorse them." The shoes cost $1,800. They sold out in less than 1 week.
Airbnb is benefiting from a surge in COVID-19 vaccines in the U.S. More Americans are planning to take vacations and trips again. Shares of Airbnb are up more than 20%. Expedia is up more than 30%. Many reservations are being made for spring break and summer. Airlines and hotel stocks have also increased.
A mysterious new disease is killing young black bears in the Sierra Nevada mountains. The Sacramento Bee said officials found 4 bears with encephalitis and dangerously inflamed brains. The disease causes the bear's immune system to attack its own body. The symptoms are head tremors and a subtle head tilt. Scientists also discovered 5 new viruses in some of the bears with the symptoms. The viruses don't appear to pose a risk to humans.
Food insecurities are reaching 25% of Los Angeles households as the pandemic continues. A group called the Social Justice Learning Institute is providing food distributions in order to help. Our reporter Daylin Grace has more on how the organization is aiding their community.
The number of Los Angeles families suffering food insecurities has risen during the pandemic. Many organizations have stepped in to assist. The Social Justice Learning Institute helps the Inglewood community by giving food to local agencies. Sarah Chang is an organizer.
So it basically made the demand so much higher for produce. Early in the pandemic, when people were buying foods in bulk at stores, just to get access to fresh produce and food in stores was a challenge.
The organization specializes in giving fresh food. Paul Terry, another organizer, says healthy food is important.
So where they can access the food that they need for their lifestyle without having to travel outside of their community.
The organization further communicates with local food agencies looking to give directly to the people of the community. Pamela Deering is a volunteer of the agency, Crenshaw Neighborhood Food, and she shares how this process works.
So I pick up and I drop off, and then they handle the distribution of it.
With the effects of the pandemic, SGLI says it hopes to continue to reach out, helping families get proper nutrition.
With an organization like this that connects to local food agencies, the goal of tackling food insecurities within this community remains imperative.
That was Daylin Grace reporting. When we come back, how skating mamas are bringing their community together to have some fun while staying safe. Also, how a San Diego group has kept the streets there clean for more than 60 years. Stay with us. Major League Baseball returns with the regular season Thursday after coming off a 60-game season last year. Fans will be able to attend games to cheer on their favorite teams with limited capacity due to safety protocols. Each stadium has different guidelines fans must follow. This season is projected to have teams playing all 162 games before the postseason starts in October.
New England Patriots player Justin Herron saved a retired schoolteacher from being sexually assaulted. This happened last Saturday in Tempe, Arizona. Herron says he heard a woman scream for help while at a public park. He and another bystander prevented a 30-year-old man from sexually assaulting the 71-year-old woman in the park.
I just took off running and didn't even think about it. I just took off running and ran towards the perpetrator and the victim, and I was able to get there in time.
The suspect was then taken into custody by the police. Both Herron and the bystander were presented with Outstanding Service Awards by the Tempe Police Department.
Both UCLA and USC's men's basketball teams have made it to the Elite Eight of March Madness. UCLA's overtime upset against Alabama advances them to the next round of the tournament. They'll face top seed Michigan. UCLA hasn't made it to the Elite Eight since 2008. USC defeated Oregon to move on to the next round of the tournament. They'll face top-seeded Gonzaga, who has been undefeated all season.
Roller skating is experiencing a revival as more people seek to get outdoors. Our reporter Savannah Birchfield spoke with members of the organization, Skating Mamas of Santa Clarita, to see how they're bringing the community together to have some fun while staying safe.
It started off as a simple Facebook post.
I posted on the Santa Clarita community page, hey, is there any mamas out there that are looking, to skate?
Now, it's turned into a community-wide movement.
There were so many people, I was like, why don't we start a group?
Skating Mamas of SCV has people from all around the Santa Clarita Valley getting together to have some fun.
It's just a really fun experience getting to be outside with other people and meet new people, especially with the year we've had last year and the pandemic.
The group has skaters of all ages and experience levels.
I've been skating consistently for maybe 3.5 years now.
Many of the skaters are there to give each other a helping hand when it's needed.
The people that join are just really nice people. And they're helpful to each other when someone falls, everybody's rushing to them.
Anyone interested in skating is encouraged to come out and try the hobby.
You don't even have to be a skater to join the group. And there's a whole bunch of people in the group that know a lot about skates and skating.
Whether you're a beginner like me or an expert, you can come to one of the Skating Mamas of SCV events every Saturday in Central Park at 4 p.m. Reporting for Valley View News in Santa Clarita, I'm Savannah Birchfield.
Last Saturday, Eddie Murphy accepted his induction award into the NAACP Image Awards Hall of Fame. His longtime friend and Coming to America co-star Arsenio Hall presented the award. The actor and comedian was recognized for his influence that shaped the profession for generations to come. Other inductees included Oprah Winfrey, Stevie Wonder, Spike Lee, and Ray Charles.
Woody Allen continued to proclaim his innocence addressing his daughter Dylan Farrell's sexual abuse claims in an interview on CBS Sunday Morning. This was Allen's first in-depth on-camera American interview in nearly 30 years. The interview took place in July 2020 and can finally be viewed on Paramount Plus streaming services. Allen discusses points made by the recent HBO docuseries Allen vs. Farrell.
Jason Derulo and his girlfriend Jenna Fromes are expecting their first child. In an Instagram video, Derulo says he is set to become a dad. The caption reads, "Couldn't be more excited for this new chapter in our life." Fromes also shared a photo on Twitter referring herself and Derulo as mom and dad. The couple have been dating for just over a year, right before COVID-19 pandemic.
Cleaning up the community isn't as straightforward as it once was before the pandemic. Our reporter Ayana Apollon-Kettles spoke with one San Diego organization to see how they've been keeping the streets clean for more than 60 years.
The group I Love a Clean San Diego is known for its community cleanup events, but the pandemic forced them to do things virtually. Nick Kennedy, the community events coordinator for I Love a Clean San Diego, says there are ways to still participate even during the pandemic.
They could do a cleanup at their capacity in their neighborhood, in their backyard, down the street at a place they know could use some TLC, and then they can report their totals using our volunteer impact map to really get an idea of what the impact of our cleanup was.
Voila. I Love a Clean San Diego joins groups like San Diego Canyonlands to make changes. Linda Pennington organizes in City Heights for San Diego Canyonlands.
Well, San Diego Canyonlands is all over San Diego, and they're all about restoring our canyons.
I Love a Clean San Diego is a staple in many communities, and it brings improvements. Volunteer Matt Armstrong says groups like this are important.
I Love a Clean San Diego has been around for a long time in this community, and I think every community would benefit from having some kind of volunteer organizing event.
I Love a Clean San Diego's next event is their annual cleanup called Creek to Bay. For more information, go to creektobay.org. Reporting from San Diego for Valley View News, I'm Ayana Apollon-Kettles.
The Rosebud Motel, a monumental place in every episode of comedy classic Schitt's Creek, has hit the marketplace. It is selling at $1.6 million. Before the attention and fame, some Canadian basketball recruits were using the structure for housing. The real building is actually named the Hockley Motel, and it is located north of Toronto. The current owner, Jesse Tipping, bought the place in 2012. He said he would welcome the next owner, making the place into the Schitt's Creek-themed motel. Whether the motel sale can recapture that magic remains to be seen.
That's all for us at Valley View News. I'm Casey Contreras.
And I'm Lisette Ceja. For stories any time of day, go to our website, sundial.csun.edu. Thanks for watching.